Interested in living in a van? I've been doing it for about 3 years now. Let me give you some tips. Storage unit. Maybe you're one of those people that have a bunch of stuff you don't want to get rid of. Well, get a storage unit, man. I pay $200 a month. I have a unit where I can keep my motorcycle, my Enduro. I'm lucky enough to have power there where I can have a freezer and change out ice packs, my clothes. I even have a little desk with a computer where I can edit videos for you guys. Storage unit is totally worth having if you are living the van life. I'm not one of those van lifers where I'm a complete minimalist and I have nothing but my van. I'm just not like that. I got tools, toys, motorcycles, all sorts of stuff. So to me, a storage unit is worth having in van life. When you get stuck due to a freight train, don't get upset. You're at home. Who cares? You know, when you're living in a van, you generate garbage. You have a little trash can, you have garbage. You're not taking the garbage out for the trash people to pick it up. So where do you get rid of your garbage? Well, let me show you what I do. I throw my garbage away at public garbage cans. Every gas station, even truck stops have trash cans. A lot of parks have dumpsters, public dumpsters. Don't be a jerk and throw your garbage on the street and make us van lifers all look bad. Get rid of your garbage properly. They're everywhere. Use them. Where do you shower? How do you stay clean living in a van? You don't have a shower in your van, do you? Some people do. I personally would never dedicate the space to that because you end up not using it. Me personally, and a lot of other van lifers I'm sure, Planet Fitness. It's about $20 a month and you can go to any location in the country and they are everywhere. You can shower, you can work out there. You've got massage chairs and they got awesome hydro massage chairs. I'll tell you what, a couple years ago, like 3 or 4 years ago, me and my buddies traveled around the country in my first van before the first build. This was way before Midwest van life. We went around the country, went down to Florida, we went to New Orleans, and then we went out to Arizona, and then eventually Las Vegas. And if I wish I had Planet Fitness when we were traveling like that, because we ended up running into a situation where we needed to shower, and we ended up showering at a truck stop and spending money on it. Where it was like, truck stops were like $20. Now we found one that was a cheaper one, it was like $5, but it was fine, it was a quick shower, not a big deal. But I'll tell you what, for $20 a month, you can shower anywhere in the country that there's a Planet Fitness, and they are everywhere. I said that already, but I'm saying it again. Totally worth the $20 a month. It's totally worth the investment. And there's another perk that a lot of people don't see. Most Planet Fitness are 24 hours. So now it's another place to park overnight. This particular Planet Fitness, the parking lot kind of curves. So depending on how you're parking, you might be off level. And if you ever slept in a van unlevel, it kind of sucks. Ideally, you want your head above your feet, not the other way around. And that never works out that way. So I don't really stay at this one too much. I actually stay across the street from it at this parking lot over here. It's huge. There's a Dollar Tree over there. There's a Guitar Center right there. But I actually end up just staying over there a lot. It's a real common spot for me. But anyways, Planet Fitness is awesome. And I won't be getting rid of it anytime soon. I have a check for a job that I'm waiting on. Except I live in a van. So how do I get my mail? The UPS store. The UPS store, you can have a mailbox, and it is roughly, what is it? I think it's about $13 a month. You could set that as your address just about on anything. I was lucky enough to figure out a way to get my driver's license there, to get just everything there. And I will not be changing that anytime soon because it works for me, it's simple, it's easy, and it's cheap. So another thing about the UPS store that I just love is if I'm down in Florida or anywhere outside the Chicagoland area and I have a check or something important that I need and I'm not in town, I can call the UPS store and have them overnight that piece of mail to another UPS store wherever I'm at. And to me that is like, well, I can have my mailbox, or I have access to my mailbox just about anywhere as long as I pre-plan for it. I don't know if the wind is bothering or not, but to me that is a huge plus, a huge benefit, and for that reason alone I would never get rid of the mailbox at the UPS store. So it's about $150 a year. You're just trying to start van life and you have little hiccups like what about this, what about that. When it comes to the mail, the UPS store will not let you down. Here's a van life pro tip. If you put a box on the front of your van for a generator, be careful when you park. You don't want to, it's a good thing that's just dirt and stuff and not, a hard surface will break. Be careful. I'm wearing this thing now to protect my neck. It's getting just a little cold outside. Anyways, here's another van life pro tip. Living with a dog. That's a big one. And that could almost be a whole nother video. I think I actually have a video about living with a dog. Anyways, I have a dog. His name's Jax. I'm sure you've seen a lot of him. When you have a dog in the van, let him out as often as you can, because he's cooped up in that van all the time. Jax is great, but when I work, what do I do with him? When if I'm not working, Jax is usually with me everywhere I go. So when I'm working, I have two options. I could either leave Jax in the van or put him up in a Rover. Rover is great. You can put them up, it's like 25, 30 bucks for a day. You can even set it up for a few days, a week, 2 weeks, however long you want. And people are all over the place that will watch your dog through Rover. I've done it several times and it's been very, very helpful. I will leave Jax in the van on days where it's colder, so I don't have to worry about him with the heat, or days that I know that I can attend to him during lunch or even throughout the day, depending on the job. And sometimes there's days where I am away from the van all day long and I can work 12, 13, 14, sometimes 15, 16-hour days. And that is very unfair to the dog, and on days like that, I will put him up in the Rover. I'll spend the 25 bucks, 30, 35, whatever it is, to make sure my pup is safe. I recommend you do the same. The dog hair. I recommend getting a blower. 2 to 3 times a week, I am blowing out the van because of the damn dog hair. It drives me crazy. Other than that, having a dog in the van is not that challenging. It's actually nice because I spend a lot of time at parks, wherever I am, and sometimes depending on where I am, if there's not other people around, I'll let him run, and he will run. Jax will run. Just the other day, he ran through a field for like 20 minutes. I was kind of doing going off road a little bit into out in the middle of nowhere, and I just let him go, and he just ran and 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 ran. It was great. Jax has an interesting life because he gets to travel with me. He gets to go up to the Upper Peninsula, Michigan. He gets to go to Florida and go on the beach. He gets to do all sorts of fun things that some dogs don't get to do. But yes, a lot of times he is, in fact, cooped up in that van for some time. That's why I try to let him out as often as I can. Also, just like what Jax is doing right now, he's gonna take a shit places. Don't leave it, clean it up, put it in a garbage can, in a bag, whatever. Don't just leave it, don't be a jerk. Yeah, that's living in a van with a dog. Next. All right, so we talked a lot about some pro van life tips outside the van. Let's talk about some tips inside the van. Here we are inside the van, and how do you stay warm? It gets pretty cold here in the Midwest. So here's what I do to stay warm in the van. What I have is a buddy heater. Right now it's on because I got the doors open and it's a nice day just to have the buddy heater going for a little bit. Actually, I don't need it on high. So the buddy heater works on propane, and I have a propane tank on the back of the van on the back door. And what I have is a propane hose running in, just hooked up to this. So with the propane heater, the buddy heater is relatively safe. So you don't really have to worry too much about carbon monoxide. But here's what I do. Everybody says you don't have to worry about carbon monoxide with the buddy heater, but because it is propane, I stay a little safer. Here's what I do. I have a carbon monoxide / smoke detector that is consistently on, consistently battery powered. And the reason I have that is in case of any scenario where something's burning or the propane is putting out carbon monoxide, it will go off and warn me. The other thing I do is I crack the max fan. And what's nice about this is that you crack it and let a little heat out. It keeps fresh air in the van, and what it does is it also works kind of as a thermostat. The more it's open, the more heat you're allowing to escape, the colder it's going to be. Sometimes I get in a situation where it's somewhere in like the low 30s, high 20s, where if I have everything closed and the buddy heater on the lowest setting, it still gets too warm in here. So what I do is I crack that and let some heat out, and if it's still a little too warm, I'll open it a little more, letting more heat out, using it as a thermostat. So that's how I stay warm in the van. Also, when I'm on shore power, I have a small plug-in heater, and that thing works great. On shore power, I put it on, and I do the same thing. Even on the low setting, I could play with the max fan and control the temperature in the van. Propane is going to be the most efficient way of heating the van, I think. Some people say the diesel heaters work great. I've never really got into them. The buddy heater just kind of worked for me. I haven't really had much of an issue with it, so I never changed. I never really changed anything that was working. Why reinvent the wheel? It was working for me, so I just never changed it. Anyways, that's how I heat the van. How do you cool the van when it's like 90-degree nights? Now this is going to be a little bit of a longer clip because it's a little more involved. So here's what I do. In the summer, when it is super warm, super hot out, you could crack that van and have an airflow, and even crack the back door, and yes, it helps. But when it's like in the 80s and 90s at night, I don't care what anybody says, it is freaking hot and humid. It is almost impossible to use the max fan to stay cool in the van. It's just not going to happen. What you need ideally is an actual air conditioner, and that's what I have. And last summer it worked like a charm. I also did something that I'm going to show you right now that makes it even cooler. Here it is. There is my air conditioner. It is I think it's 1,000 BTU. No, it's 5,000 BTU. Or no, I'm sorry, I think it's a 10,000 BTU. Either way, it's huge, and it works great for this small space. So here's the issue with that. You need 110 power in order to keep that thing going. Could I use my battery bank? Yes, I have a 200 amp hour battery bank. Should I? Absolutely not. Why? Because I'm gonna need to charge my batteries every damn day if I use it. So here's what I did. Here's what I did on the other van as well. So without saying, if I'm on shore power, needless to say, I don't need any of this. Shore power is king. Watch out, Jax. So here's what I did. I have on the front a generator. So this box has a generator, a 2,000 watt generator. It's a Honda. That generator powers my AC, also charges my batteries when it's running. So the big issue with the generator is it's kind of loud. I mean, it's not that loud, but you have to... I don't know. He's a wacko. Kind of like his owner. Anyways, being that it's in the box, it kind of contains the sound a little bit. When you have the AC running, it revs up a little more and it's just slightly louder. But I've never had a complaint or any issues with sound with that. The real issue with the generator is fuel. So that generator takes about a gallon of gas. The tank is about a gallon, and 1 gallon will run that AC for approximately 6 hours. So after 6 hours, it runs out of gas, so you'd have to refill it. So what I did to battle that, and because ideally you want to start it and it's running all night until you wake up, right? So what I did is I tapped into my gas tank and I ran a fuel line to the generator. So here's how that works. This is a prime bulb, and it works the same prime bulb, and works the same way as an outboard motor. This runs to my gas tank. Now I prime it before I start it, and these things have little fuel pumps. So what I do is I give a little prime, I start the motor, or I start the generator, and that thing will run. If I have a full tank, I figured out it'll run for about it'll run the AC for about 200 hours before it stops taking fuel from the van gas tank. And that is how I have AC in the van all night without any issues. Organization, big thing in the van. I personally like to keep the van somewhat clean. I don't like stuff all over the place or having to move something to get to something. To me, that's just crazy and annoying. So I see on a lot of vans up in this space here is usually cabinets. I wasn't even going to try to build cabinets in my van because I'm not a carpenter and they would look horrible. So what I did instead is I just built a shelf with a little lip, and I used baskets. These little baskets work great. Have a spot for everything. Everything you have in the van, have a spot for. For example, look at this. First aid kit, I just threw a heavy duty magnet in there and stuck it up there. That's all it is. That is a spot for that, and if it's not there, then something's wrong. That's the way I see it. Flashlights. I have a heavy duty flashlight, big one, that I just keep up there. A spot for it. Everything should have a home. It lives there. Kind of like me in this van. I live in it. Each item lives in a spot. Let's see if I can come up with another. Pots and pans. That's where it lives. Have a spot for everything. If you don't, what's going to happen is you're going to feel cluttered and van life is going to suck for you. And that's a common misunderstanding that happens to people, is they build out their vans, but they don't organize it, so it ends up just being annoying all the time. And then they say van life sucks. Van life doesn't suck if you do it right. Van life doesn't suck if you're organized and the van is clean and everything just works great. If you can manage that, then van life won't suck. Okay, so here's one that a lot of people question and a lot of people don't want to talk about, but we should talk about it. In the middle of the night, you wake up and you have to use the restroom. What do you do? Well, I know some people that use a bucket, which is kind of gross. What I did is I ended up getting one of those portable, self-contained, what do they call it, compositing toilets. And I keep it under my bed, and it has a little compartment that has water, and it could actually flush. I have it as backup. Have I used it? Yes. Do I use it all the time? No. Typically, I am parked somewhere where I can use the washroom if I need to. I have this toilet as a backup, and it's just there. And I've had to empty it a couple times. Where do you empty it? There are several places, sanitation places you can go to empty it. Anytime you're at a campsite, there's usually for RVs, a dump station that you can use. I've rarely ever dumped it, and when I do, I've gone to the sanitation place here in DuPage County and been able to dump it there. So we'll just leave that all right there. Food in the van. How do we deal with cold drinks, cold whatever, keeping things cold? Well, here's what I do. I have a Ozark Trail cooler, which I have had since the first van. This thing has actually been awesome. And what I did is I created if you could see all this is a drain. So that way when you use ice and it fills up with water, I could just hit the knob here and it drains the water straight out the van, which is awesome. Now, what I started doing, instead of using ice, I started saving some money. I use these ice packs. These ice packs are just as good as ice, and I have a freezer in the storage unit that I could switch them out. If I'm at my sister's, I have another freezer there that I switch them out. If I'm at my parents', I switch them out there. Sometimes I'm at a friend's house, I'll switch them out there. I have a ton of these. I think I got like 24 of them total. And 3 fit in, so I have 3 in different locations where they're staying cool. Sometimes at studios, I will put them in the freezer there, and the next day I could switch them out. They last a good 3 to 4 days. When I'm traveling, I just use ice. I bite the bullet, just get ice. But I'll tell you what, you will save a ton of money on ice if you have the ability to freeze these. Another benefit to having a storage unit, as long as you have power. Some storage units, you don't have power. I got lucky and I was able to get power. And that is a huge perk. So that's what I do here. Some people like to use like those 12-volt coolers or those refrigerator things. I haven't really looked too much into that. Maybe one day I will, but it's just one more thing to be connected to hook up to my battery bank system, which I'm trying to keep minimal if I can. So that's how I deal with that. Okay, so here's another Vanlife pro tip. TV, entertainment. Here's what I have. I have a 19-inch TV hooked up with a Roku. How do I have my internet? I have Verizon Jetpack. And I think that was an additional like $30 or $40 a month to my phone service. Well, for $30 to $40 a month, I now have internet in my van, unlimited, and I could watch my Netflix, Amazon, YouTube, Hulu, all of that. So if you're going to start van life and you want to have all that stuff, I highly recommend Verizon. Works well, hasn't been too much of an issue for me. The only thing I do notice is when you're streaming a video and then you try using Alexa, sometimes it gets a little, it gets weird because it's multiple devices on it. Other than that, that thing has worked out just great. Here's another Vanlife pro tip. All your chargers for your phone. I have one right here. Keep short. Get shorties. Because it's so annoying when you have the long ass cables all over the place. I have one of the little magnet things, my phone, right above my head here. I just stick it there and I got a short cable to charge my phone at night. And it's only like, I think it's only like 2 feet. Perfect. It keeps it simple. It keeps it less annoying. And just trust me, maybe have a couple long ones just for whatever, but try to keep the short cables. That will make your van life a lot easier. Okay, well, I can't think of any other van life tips for you, except let's talk about the garage, what I keep in the back. That's a good one. How about that? He's such a weird dog. In the back of the van, extra coolant, which I'm eventually going to have a spot for back there. I also carry a kick-ass tool set. I also carry more tools that I'm going to actually use. I have a nice tool set, all sorts of stuff, just in case I need to work on the van on the side of the road. Also, I carry a air compressor. An air compressor is nice to keep in the van. That way you can inflate your tire if you have to. I've used that thing many, many, many times, not just for my van, but for other people's vehicles, and it's just nice to have. So definitely have a really good toolkit in the back of the van, especially if you're traveling a lot. Not too long ago, I found myself replacing a radiator hose on the side of the goddamn road, and it sucked because I didn't have the proper tools. So I decided to throw away this crappy tools I had, and I went out and put together a nice, good kit, brand new. I think I spent like $400 or $500, and I just made a whole kit of tools that I would need to work on the van on the side of the road. I basically set myself up to have the ability to replace the alternator on the side of the road if I have to. Because the last thing you want to do is get stranded somewhere and you can't fix something or replace something simply because you don't have the tool. How stupid is that? Anyways, well, that's that for Vanlife pro tips. I can't think of anything else. If I do think of more tips, I will probably make a Vanlife pro tip part 2. Maybe. We'll see. If there's any other tips or any other questions you guys have, please like, share, comment on it. I always check out the comments, and if there's something you want to know, ask. I will write it down, and I'll add it to the next video, and I will answer all these questions. I have a lot of answers. People talk to me about van life all the time, and I've got all the answers. I've done this for about 3 years now. Here we're going into 2022. I started pretty much in 2018, so I'm about to go into my 4th year of van life. And so far, my van has been working flawlessly. Temper control has been working flawlessly. Everything has just been great. You get to a certain point in your van life where you're no longer doing upgrades because everything is just working great. And when you get to that point, you feel like your van life has been truly successful. So anyways, thanks for watching. Like, share, subscribe. Keep it simple and keep it real. Take care, guys. I'll see you on the next one.